What's going on, guys? It's Joe with Hendo Daily, and we are out here outside of my shed tonight. A little bit different view for the video, and we're going to be checking out a buck knife tonight. And I brought a couple of knives with me to do some comparisons, some side-by-sides. But really what I found with this knife was you really do get what you pay for with a knife. So we are looking at the Buck Trunk cleaver style blade of 7CR steel, black G10 handles. This knife, when I bought it, was $27. And in reference to one of Taylor Martin's best damn EDC videos I watched recently, it really is not a great time to be a knife collector. He couldn't have said it better, because with the price of tariffs and the price of the materials you're paying for and everything going up, labor costs, material costs, just everything going on, it is so expensive to be a knife collector. And when you settle for a cheaper knife, even though Buck is an American company, this was a Chinese made Buck knife, so nothing too crazy. But if you can kind of see that there, I have some pros and some cons for this knife for sure. So like I said, $27. I like the style of this knife. I really do. The handle is really, honestly, a great size. And I have medium to large size hands. It's got some good purchase on it. It's got, sorry about any of that background noise you can hear. Some motorcycles taking off in the background, but it's got a great size handle. It fits my hand really well. I love the style of the blade. I love that cleaver with that round belly on it. It's not too pronounced, but it's got a good belly on it, and it's got a good tip on it as well. And some of the pros I would say is, again, the handle and the design I like. Some of the cons, and I know I'm going to sound like a steel snob here, but 7CR is just not a super great steel. It is pretty decent with corrosion resistance, and toughness is okay. However, it's not going to hold up well for harder tasks. You know, if you're just carrying this for an everyday EDC knife, right? Opening packages, maybe cutting down a little bit of cardboard, it's going to do the job and it's going to get it done. And if that's all you're looking for, then, you know, this is a cool little blade for sure. However, past that, my initial issues with this knife was the opening. I feel like it's broken in a little bit, but it's very tough, very stiff opening and even closing. And it's got a liner lock on it, as well as a deep carry stainless steel clip. I do like the G10, so I'll give it that. But as far as cons, it just is very tough to open. It's not even right there. It couldn't even open up all the way. It's got a flipper tab as well as a thumb stud. So, I mean, you've got two deployment options there, but it definitely has a break-in period. And just for size comparisons, I don't have the exact specs with me. I've got my Benchmade mini Griptilian. So you can kind of see there, they're very, oh, that's why I have so many cuts on my hands. You can see they're very similar, almost exact size as the Benchmade mini Griptilian. And I've also got the Benchmade Bugout as well. So a little bit smaller than the Bugout, but right around that same size as the mini Griptilian. So very comparable in size, kind of the same shape on the belly there with the mini Griptilian versus this Buck Trunk. And I kind of want to look at this knife in two different ways. One of them being, look at the knife for what it is. Take the price out, take everything else out. 7CR steel, G10 handles, deep carry pocket clip, and a decent liner lock. Tough on the opening for sure. That might break in over time. Add a little oil to it, you might be good to go. It's not a knife I would buy again. I think it's cool. I think it could be fidgety if it would loosen up a little bit, and maybe I'll loosen up that pivot on it a little bit, but it's not a knife I would buy again. Again, I like the design. It's really not a bad knife. It's just, again, you get what you pay for. It's centered well enough. So really, I mean, I guess I really don't have too many complaints on it outside of how tight it is, and maybe the steel. You know, if it was like D2 or even, I don't know, D2 or like their 420. If they would have used like their 420 on this thing would have been awesome. But with that, even with that D2 or at 420, if they would have put it on here, that would have jumped up the price of at least another 30 bucks guaranteed. But looking at it for $27, absolutely, this is, well, maybe not absolutely, but for $27, this is a good budget knife, honestly. Because even though the steel might not be great, it's not a super steel or anything like that, it might be corrosion resistant and a little bit tougher, but it's not going to hold an edge very long, especially if you're doing like hard use tasks. I would not recommend it for that. But the benefit to the steel that they have is, even though it might dull sooner, it's going to be a lot easier to sharpen and touching up. So if you're okay with touching it up, you know, once a week, every other week, depending on your use with it, then, you know, it's not a bad little flipper. It just needs a good break-in period, a little bit of oil, and you might be good to go. But I think the clip, you know, seems a little cheap, not too, it's pretty loose on there. But the liner lock's not bad. Thumb stud and flipper tab deployment is not bad. And so really, I guess overall my biggest complaint is the opening of it. It's super tight. It almost feels like it's grinding when it's opening. It just feels so rough, like right there, I feel it catching. So biggest complaint is just the deployment of it is rough, and I wish there was a little bit better steel on here. Again, I know I might sound like a steel snob, but I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to carry it for a couple days and see how it plays out, if it loosens up a little bit after it gets broken in, and we'll go from there. So again, just for comparison, there's the Benchmade Bugout, a little bit longer, maybe 3/4 of an inch longer. Then we got, oh, that was a fail. Not on it today, guys. And we got the Benchmade Mini Griptilian, which is much more comparable in size. And even, like I said, the belly of the blade looks very similar, kind of a similar angle. And like I said, overall, not a terrible knife. If you look at it for what it is, $27, G10, liner lock, deep carry clip, and 7CR steel, you definitely get what you pay for with this. And if you're just doing average EDC tasks like cutting open packages, maybe cutting up an apple or something like that, it'll get the job done and it'll do it right. So if you're into that cleaver style, razor cleaver style blade, this buck chunk might be good for you. But just know you get what you pay for with a $27 knife. So that's all I've got for today. Check them out, you know, online, Amazon. This one, a while back when I did pick it up, I picked up at the Base Exchange, which is maybe why it was a little bit cheaper. I'll double check on, you know, Amazon prices or the Buck website directly, but $27 for a 5 out of 10 knife. So let's see if we can stick this in, but that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.